Good afternoon. Live from my mother's basement. So, you ever do that? It doesn't do anything. So, just out of habit from the 80s. Saw Jamie Cernica do that. I'm like, what's that for, man? Like, so it won't go up and blow up in your face. All right. So, this one is for all the Gen Xers in particular. I don't normally speak to the Gen Xers because I have just as much contempt for them as I do the baby boomers. Because I had to tolerate you people growing up. But there are some good people, just like there is in every good generation. And one thing I see a lot of my Gen X counterparts fretting over and worrying about, and I've talked about this before, is the fact that they don't have any savings, that they're not on track to have enough savings in their 401ks or their IRAs. They haven't been contributing and blah, blah, blah. But let me wipe away all your guilt or concerns or assuage your fears. Sorry, it is 95 degrees out in humid. And this is good shit. This San Pellegrino, I don't care how many calories it has. It's damn well worth it. And they're not paying me. I'm just saying it's a good product. Here's what's happening, guys. And perhaps, you can sleep well at night. Just like the millennials and Gen Y today, our generation was lied to about the value of a college degree. So in the late 80s, early 90s, mid-90s, wherever the embarkation point is, we went off to college, majored in what our heart told us to follow, blah, 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 and found ourselves in the similar situation that the younger kids today do. We were in debt. Now, if you graduated and you start making a lot, you say, well, you got to invest in your 401k. The same idiots that told us we should go to college and follow our hearts and the money would follow, they told us that we should invest in 401ks and IRAs. And for those of us that did, with what little money we had, we invested it. And then, oh, look, a stock market crash with the dot-com bubble busting and bursting. Oh, my goodness. So you lost that money or it was severely knocked down. Then maybe there was a recovery, economically speaking, but in terms of your stock account, which you probably didn't have because you had to liquidate it to make ends meet to pay for the rent and pay back your student loans, you still had nothing saved up for retirement planning. Then there was the booming 2000s or knots or whatever you want to call it, during that evil man George Bush, who presided over a pretty damn good economy. And then there was, oh my God, a housing bubble. Oh, look, your 401k is back down to shit again. In other words, it's like you went into the boxing match drunk. Somebody gave you something, somebody slipped something in your drink, and you were supposed to go and achieve these great economic feats and have a job and have the surplus income after paying off your student loans to invest in a 401k, and then you have the dot-com crash and then the housing bubble crash, which wiped out any kind of possible savings you might have. And now, as you approach your 40s or you're into your 40s, like, dude, man, like, how do I let's go see some Guar, which I like Guar. I'm just using it as a cultural reference. And Guar is good. If you guys haven't seen Guar, that is so, come on, like, Rolling Stones fucking charging $300 for a goddamn ticket for some geriatric kidney dialysis piece of shit fuck from the 60s who did enough pot or whatever. Nah, man, go see Guar. Guar's way better than Rolling Stones. So, for all you 90s people that remember Guar and the Ministry, anyone? KMFDM? No? Where was I going with this? Yes, so for those of you from that generation, one, you had such an impossibly steep uphill battle that there was no way the average, let alone the top 20%, Gen Xers would have had any kind of modicum of savings by this time. There's no way. The average Gen Xer does not have it and should not have it because the stock market returns just weren't there, right? Not to mention your first-time home buyers, you suckers. You probably lost all the equity in your house because you're underwater and all that other stuff. The other thing that I want to say to kind of assuage your concerns, because you got to realize this is not your fault. It's not your fault you had 2 fucking stock market crashes. It's your fault stupidly believing that, oh yeah, we just invest your .com at the end of it, and it's got a, mortars and bricks, or I. Remember that? Of course you don't. You young kids don't. But they would put an E or an I in front of every company, like E-IBM or E-Cell Paguranio. Let's put it this way. This is let's say it's 1998. This is a can of soda. Jesus Christ, you Italians with your fucking unnecessary amount of syllables. Only the Germans do it worse. San Pellegrino. San Pellegrino. If you put in... Okay, right now it's like, what, 89 cents? Back in the 90s, if you put an E or an I in front of it, it would have been worth $326 based on PE ratios back in the day. That's how overvalued the markets were. But in any case, no, so Gen X, it is not your fault. I hate to say that because I sound like a fucking liberal excusing mistakes. You were an idiot for investing in things thinking, oh, there's got an E in front of it. But for everyone who was investing in their 401ks, index funds, whatever else, if you even had the money because you're paying back your student loans, you suffered through 2 stock market crashes, you're not going to have any money. Your house is going to be underwater. These are facts. They're not reflections upon you, unless, of course, you were a fucking idiot and but most of you got bailed out anyway and, you just defaulted and short-sailed your house and then you never learned your freaking lesson. But in terms of today, has there really ever been a recovery? There has not. Most of you who are, I'd say 40 and under, 30 to 40, let's just call that Gen X, you're getting by. Maybe you're finally starting to gain traction. Maybe enough baby boomers have died or finally freaking retired to get the hell out of the way and start, loosening up some helms of leadership for people to get into middle management. I don't dare say senior executive management because, we're going to hit the ground running. I want my Social Security. $1 trillion deficit. We are the greatest generation ever. In any case. I'm sorry, I'm trying to process many things going through my mind. You never stood a shot. There, let's put it that way. You didn't stand a chance. So don't feel guilty if you don't have a 401k, you don't have an IRA, all that. The other thing I want to point out, it's probably most likely going to be confiscated. Even if you did have a 401k or an IRA, have you seen what's happened to Argentina, Bulgaria, Poland? Have you? No, of course not. You're Gen X. You're fucking retards. That's why I graduated top of my class. I'm not brilliant. You're just a bunch of fucking retards. Shut up. It's fucking 4 decades old. I fucking know this shit. It's fucking true. Just shut up. Right? If you had been paying attention to international economics, which I know wasn't as exciting as the Kardashians, or what was our version of the Kardashians? 90210 back in those days? Whatever. You're too fucking stupid watching that trash. You shouldn't have any guilt or shame not having it on top of it because it's likely to be confiscated. It's likely to be nationalized. Argentina, Bulgaria, Poland, they took the private pensions, they nationalized it, and the same thing will probably happen here because when you run trillion-dollar deficits, money's got to come from somewhere. And sooner or later, the Chinese and the Indians and the Japanese and the Arabs are going to say, we're not lending it to you anymore. Or they'll inflate it away, which brings up a different scenario. So they're going to have to go somewhere to find hard assets, and my goodness, look at those 401ks. What's great is Gen X, Gen Y, and the millennials have no 401ks. We have no IRA balances. And whereas that was a guilt trip for us now it's probably one of the best things to happen to you because you didn't slave away what little finite money you actually had to sock away at a 401k. They can't confiscate what can't be confiscated, what does not exist. So, whereas you may have had guilt before, you actually dodged a bullet because, if you were like some baby boomer making 6 figures and you sock away your, what is it now? 45, I can't remember, 15,000, whatever it is. That will be taxed. That will be confiscated. That will be haircutted as they did in Cyprus. You guys needed that money to, pay for food, clothing, and shelter and other things. And for those of you that, if you could make a contribution, it's so small relative to your total income that it's not going to be confiscated. In other words, like I said, you dodged a bullet. There's not going to be, you won't, You didn't work for other people. Let's put it that way. You weren't a slave for other people. The government's going to come in. I truly do believe it will happen within our lifetimes. They're going to confiscate and nationalize your 401k plans. And that basically means for those of you who didn't have the surplus money because you're too busy paying off other stuff and, basic life support necessities, they're not going to be able to get it. You spend it on yourself. There you go. Look at that. That's great. You spent it on yourself, as you should, because it was your money, your labor, your time, your life that you forfeited. You sacrificed to get that money, to get that labor, to get those proceeds. And you spent it on yourself. Good. So that extra shot of booze you had over 2-for-1 night over at, First Avenue when you were watching Guar, Barack Obama can't get that. It's consumed. It has passed through your system. Unless Barack Obama wants to go and try and tack something in the sewer system, he could. But getting back to the main point, have no guilt. You did your best, especially given the upbringing and training you had, which was nothing. It was probably mistraining and misled you to make even worse decisions than you would have on your own. But certainly have no guilt if you don't have a 401k. And if you don't have one, you know what? I wouldn't even start contributing to one just yet. I'd wait. I'd wait till there's a balanced budget amendment. I'd wait till there's some, non-trillion-dollar 12-digit deficits. But at the same time, you Gen Xers always voted in the leftist socialist fucking retards. So maybe, well, that I don't have to worry about that because you're not going to listen to this. The leftists aren't going to listen to this, and they're going to contribute religiously to the 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, and all that, and then that will get confiscated. What am I doing, man? Like Smashing Pumpkins, man. Like Seattle, man. Like Kurt Cocaine, man. And whatever. So, for those of you who actually are hard-working Gen Xers, for those of you who really tried, for those of you who had fiscal discipline and austerity and didn't piss away your money, but then you still feel guilty because you didn't have enough money to start saving up for retirement, there was never going to be any of that money for retirement anyway. Our generation, previous generations, future generations have voted that it's going to basically be a socialist economy, and all you would have achieved in working harder to make up the extra money to contribute to a 401k or an IRA or whatever else would have merely been confiscated. You would have wasted your life. So hitting on that extra girl, doing that extra toke, is that the word you hippies use for marijuana? You take a toke? Oh, man. Whatever, taking that extra toke. Playing those extra video games. That was time well spent and not working for somebody else. So that's all I got. Hopefully that assuages your concerns and your guilt, makes you sleep better at night. Toodles.